I'm at this little mountain town's festival called Savor the Summit. And it just reminded me that we have to savor our 50s, our 60s, and our 70s. We have to squeeze all the juice out of the youth of our senior years. Behind me is the famous Egyptian theater. It's famous for the Sundance Film Theater. But let's go for a walk. You can see they actually shut down the town's main street here. The restaurants put their tables outside. It's a really fun event. And, for me, this is one of the must-dos every year. Every summer is to just come up here and enjoy this weekend here in the town that I used to live in. So, regardless of what it is for me, regardless of what it is for you, I think back, I've been coming to this festival for over a decade. And frankly, a lot of the faces have changed, but time passes quickly. And before we know it, I just turned 60. And before I know it, my 60s are going to be over and time's going to fly by. So it's important that we think about what are the things that we want to do while we still have the youth of our senior years. You can see this town knows how to have a good party. It's a fun town. It's fun in the winter. It's fun in the summer. But what are those events for you? What are the things that are on not necessarily your bucket list, like the things you want to do before you die, but the things you want to do if you're in your 40s? What are the things that you can do in your 40s that's going to be harder to learn to do later? For instance, I learned to mountain bike in my 40s. I really wish I had learned to do that when I was younger. So, if you're in your 50s, what are the things that will be easier to do in your 50s that might be harder to do when you're 70 or 80? And there's a great book on this topic. It's called Die with Zero. Now, admittedly, it's got an unusual name, but it really talks about, the utility of money and when are we going to get the most joy out of the money that we're spending, and making sure that we don't just save it all until the end. Some of the best homemade ice cream right here, but it's super easy to, just pile the money in the bank account and not spend it. And if you're a viewer of this channel, you're probably a pretty decent saver. And so a bigger challenge for folks like you and I is getting to transition from being a saver to being a spender, because it's great you've been able to save money, but you don't want to miss the opportunity to grab that brass ring and take advantage of the sacrificing that you've done in the past. Take advantage of the hard work that you've done and use it when you still have it. Recently, a friend of mine passed away, and because she was really good at saving money. And unfortunately, she never got out of the saver mode and gave herself permission to spend that money that she was saving. And it's a regret. And, one of the things is when we're in our 80s or our 90s, it's not going to be as easy for me. I rode my bike here. In fact, that's where I'm walking, is to where my bike is locked up. But I'm not going to be able to do this kind of stuff probably easily when I'm in my 80s and 90s. And so I want you to think about that as well. What are the things that you want to do that maybe you're not spending the money on, and you're saving it up for a rainy day? And hopefully in your life there weren't many rainy days, and so you saved it up. You didn't need to use it, and now's the time to celebrate with it. For instance, my wife and I have on our list, we want to go to Australia and New Zealand. And so I looked for a sale. I found a sale on it. But you know what? In the next 12 months, we're going to be doing that. Hopefully you'll see some videos from down under. But it's important for all of us that we don't just hoard the money. The money is there for a reason. And for those of you that are kindred spirits with me, for those of you that know what I'm talking about, on a spectrum of not spending enough or spending too much, we're probably too far on the spectrum of not spending enough. And if you're still in your 50s, if you're still in your early 60s and you haven't retired, I encourage you to think about it's going to take some time for you to transition from being a saver to being a spender. And I want you to think about maybe not saving as much money. I want you to think about the transition from being a saver to a spender because it's a really difficult transition for a lot of people to make. And a lot of folks think, well, once I retire, I'll just flip the switch. But in retirement, I think is one of the hardest times to switch from being a saver to a spender. And the reason is we no longer have that flow of new money coming in, which we call a paycheck, right? We're standing on a riverbank of money flowing downstream. And if we don't learn how to spend money when we still are near that riverbank, well, we still have new money coming in. If we don't do it now, it's going to be a lot harder to do later. So I urge you, if you're thinking you're going to retire in 5 years, 2 years before, at least start slowing down your pace of saving and think about spending more money. And for those of you that like to spend money, that's not going to be an issue for you. But if you've made it this far in the video, you're probably a kindred spirit of me. I am in my first year of retirement. I am still learning to be a better spender. And typically what I tell my wife is, like for this trip to New Zealand, Australia, I know the tickets aren't going to be cheap. There was a sale going on, but, I want to have the refundable tickets, blah, blah, blah. So, we don't get the sticker price. We get the price with all the upgrades. So in my case, my wife's very comfortable spending money, and I'm glad that's a good partnership for me, but I need to be good with it as well. So, one of the things that we need to do in order to have the confidence to spend money is to have a plan, to have a financial plan so that you know what, you can spend this money. It's not going to move the needle for you. It's not going to make you broke. And you can enjoy the money. For instance, that festival I was just at, those dinner seats are expensive. Now, I ate at a local restaurant with some friends nearby, and then we just walked by. I have done that event a couple times. It was a good time. I'm glad I did it when I did. But it's also expensive. So having a retirement plan, having a financial plan gives you the confidence that you're on track to retire, that maybe you don't need to save so much. And if you are getting close to retirement, having a plan gives you the confidence that you can spend this money and that you're not sacrificing unnecessarily, or worse, you're not putting your future financial security at risk. I suspect anybody that's made it this far in the video is not going to suffer from putting their financial security at risk. But I encourage you to have a financial plan. The gold standard for a financial plan is to talk with a fee-only financial advisor, in my opinion, somebody that's a fiduciary for you all the time. If you're not going to do that, I urge you to build your own plan, but to not use Google Sheets, to not use Excel. Again, the gold standard is to work with a professional. But if you want to do it yourself, the software that I like is called Bolden. It used to be called New Retirement, and you can find it in the link in the description below. This video is not sponsored by Bolden, but I am an affiliate, so you'll be supporting the station a little bit. And if you like this video, the YouTube algorithm says this is the next video of mine specifically for you that you should watch next. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.